Go ahead, do the countdown.
1, 2, 3. What happened to my Thursday?
All right, well, you join us here on the road going north up through upstate New York for the second time in 2 weeks, heading up to go skiing. But a little bit of change of scenery. We are here not in our Tesla, but in the Buick. And even though we intended to take the Tesla for both trips, we ended up not for either one now. And I wanted to talk a little bit about why and what our plan is. So stick with me. All right, well, we were initially going to bring the Tesla up to Okemo in Vermont, which is where we're heading now. Since it's only the three of us, we would have had plenty of room. We have the roof rack on, so we could have put the ski rack on. And even without that, I think with the pass-through, we probably would have been able to fit everything. But it is predicted to be quite cold up there and getting a bit of snow. And even though I wanted to test both out and kind of show that EVs, can be practical and work in the cold, even though you lose range, and that the Tesla is actually pretty good in the snow, with it just being three of us, I didn't really feel super comfortable doing that and decided to bring the bigger SUV instead. Now, the other thing is, Okemo especially is in a spot where there is just, for some reason, very limited charging infrastructure. So the closest supercharger is in Rutland, which is, I think, like 30 or 40 minutes away. So it's just, it's far enough that it's a pain. And if we were kind of getting low at any point driving around Okemo, it would have been kind of stressful and just added a lot to our trip to have to do that. Plus, we are on a little bit of a tight schedule. We've got 2 days up there over the long weekend, but we've got to get back Sunday night to get back in time to get everybody settled back in, even though these guys don't have school on Monday, their little brother does. And so we didn't want to have to deal with the charging and everything on the way back home. And now on the way up there, we're trying to get there before it gets too late so that we have time to get dinner and everything. So not having to add what looked like it would have been almost an hour of charging on the way, both ways, was a big win for this. Now, that being said, a couple of downsides here. First, I've had to drive in what is pretty frustrating traffic conditions, where it's not like there's a lot of traffic on the road, but it's just been everywhere where it was 2 lanes, the 2 lanes were going the same speed, and now that it's 3 lanes, all 3 lanes are going the same speed. And so it's just this sort of yo-yoing or accordioning of traffic where 1 minute we're going over the speed limit, then we're going way down below, and it's everybody's passing you on the right, and it's just been a pain in the butt. And it would have been really nice to have autopilot to not have to deal with that. This car only has regular cruise control, not even adaptive cruise control. So I'm having to do all of the driving here, so it's just a little bit tedious and less comfortable. And then second, in this car, it's just the acceleration and everything is quite different than the Tesla. So this one feels more like you've got to do some work to kind of get it up to speed and re-accelerate and brake in it, every time that you're changing, whereas the Tesla is much more agile. And then you'll also notice we've got, despite the criticisms of Tesla for their build quality and the noise, it's actually much louder in here right now because we have the ski rack on, but the skis themselves are actually in the back here. And I think because the ski rack is empty, we're just getting a ton of wind whistling through there, so it's been very loud the whole time. The boys said it sounds like there's an airplane taking off above us, and they're not wrong about that. So, I'm dealing with that right now. And, oh, look at this, sign for all of the ski mountains here. So, Gore is coming up, and Whiteface, where we were last time, is also here. So we are, looks like we're coming up sort of on where you would turn off for Lake George and Lake Placid. But we've got a way to go still before we get to the exit for Vermont. But I am actually dealing with some range anxiety right now. We've got only 38 more miles of fuel range here, and I think it said there's a rest stop coming up, but and 200 something, yeah. But I'm leaving it a little bit late here for us to stop and get gas. And now it's starting raining and it's going to be cold and awful out there while I'm trying to get it. So, you know, really don't see the future here in these gas cars where you have to stop all the time for gas. Oh, we got 3 miles. You can't even sit there and do Netflix while you're putting gas in. Alright, bud. Yeah? Alright, well, heading up there and hopefully not too much more of a drive at this point. Alright, well, we are here and I don't see any electric chargers, but they only have this thing, which I don't think is going to take off at all. Just pain in the butt. You have to put your credit card in. It doesn't just automatically go to your account. You have to stand out here in the cold and the snow. Oh, it's terrible. Can't even sit here inside the car and watch Netflix. There's no Wi-Fi or anything. It's kind of slow and it smells. Yeah, I don't care for this at all. I think electric is the only way to go. All right, not feeling it. And look at that, it's expensive too. $70, we only got not even 20 kilowatts. Though, to be fair, I think we were down to, I don't know, it just said low range in the car, so must have been like 10% or so. Although I do think, you know, this doesn't even tell you, it's not a very good system here, but I think we added over 400 miles of range, so that's not too horrible, but I'd expect that to only be like $30. Dreadful. Alright, so terrible charging experience. Very expensive, and I had to stand outside in the snow and the cold. Although, all jokes aside, it's actually funny. These kids are so used to the Tesla. Axel, please stop. These kids are so used to the Tesla that they asked me if we could go get out and go to the bathroom and get food and where you sit to eat, and then what we could watch on Netflix while we were getting gas. So I think we're bringing them up right. It was only about 5 minutes and we're now good to go, definitely all the way there and probably most of the way back. We're up to, let's see, this car has a range of 465 miles, so you know, still something to be said for that, I'd say. But we didn't get to watch any Netflix. Oh well. Alright, well, we are off to go skiing again. We've got everybody and the skis packed up, which is so nice to be able to do here in the Model Y. Didn't even have to put the ski rack on the roof rack. But I wanted to talk a little bit about Tesla's price drops and how it has, maybe not so quietly, but very quickly become just the absolute best deal I think you can get on a car, and certainly the best that you can do for an EV right now. So Tesla dropped their prices significantly a couple of weeks ago. The Model Y, like this one for example, which is the long range, they decreased the price by $12,000, which brought it down below the threshold, so it's eligible for the tax incentive now, $7,500 federal tax one. So effectively this car is just about $20,000 cheaper than it was even a month ago, which is just a crazy deal and something that you never really see in the automotive industry. And then very nice stuff. And then the Model 3 standard range, which is the rear wheel drive only one, which has a little bit less range. I think it's just under 300 or so, which is the car I actually had first, is now available in a lease for under $300 a month, which is just crazy talk. That's less than I was paying for mine 5 years ago. And part of that is that they're just automatically rolling the tax incentive into leases. So it doesn't actually matter if you are eligible based off of income for a lease like it does for buying a car. Because the way that it works is basically they're just treating it as a fleet vehicle for the lease, and so it's actually essentially loopholed out of the income limitations. So between those two, I think if you are in the market for any car right now, those are absolutely ones that you should be considering. And especially if you're in the market for an electric car right now. I don't see how it would make any sense to go with anything else right now, because all of the closest competitors are now dramatically underpriced. Like the Mach-E is now at least 10,000 to 20, depending on the trim and everything, more than this.
It's on, Daddy.
So is the so the Kia and Hyundai versions, and Axel, turn on.
How?
And even the ID4, which is now just about competitive with this, is you know, just it's a different car. It's you know, it's got some nice parts, but some of the luxury stuff isn't there. Stop. And the charging infrastructure is certainly not there for anything other than a Tesla right now. So if you're going to do any sort of road tripping, if you're going to rely on fast charging at all, just based off of the problems that are occurring everywhere with Electrify America stations and even the other DC charge point providers like EVgo and stuff, it's so much easier to live with a Tesla and just use the supercharger network. So you'll see as we start to do some of our ski trips. We've got our big trip to Stowe coming up soon. We're going to be taking this car up with the skis. And you can see on those trips just how simple the Tesla supercharging network makes things, and how you really don't have to go out of your way or do too much crazy advanced planning compared to the other chargers. So I know I haven't been as big on Tesla lately, and you know, I think all of my concerns with the leadership and just some of the decisions and stuff are definitely still out there. But between these price drops and you know, some of the rumors that are coming along with the next generation platform, I think you know, it becoming a more affordable car, I think you know, there are some reasons to be optimistic about Tesla right now, and it's just still very hard not to recommend it to anyone who is looking to get into the electric vehicle world. I guess I kind of feel like it's a little bit like Apple was with the iPhone back in the late 2000s, when I felt like, you know, there were some things about Android that just philosophically were better, like the open source approach and the customization and things like that. But in reality, for most people, an iPhone was always going to be a better choice, less complicated, just works. And especially, you know, now that things have matured more, you know, I'm a big iPhone person and I think that it works perfectly. So, yeah, I think Tesla is probably heading down a similar trajectory right now. All right, well, with that, hope you enjoyed this hodgepodge of things Tesla related video, and try to get back on a little bit more regular posting schedule now that life is settling down a little bit. And I will see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching.